Hello everyone, welcome to your video class section of plus 2 biology. Here I am discussing the sample questions or the previous year's question from the chapter sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, the images of the questions I gave you in your assignment box. So first of all I am reading about I am discussing the 5-mark question. So please be listen carefully. First question is, draw a diagrammatic sketch of the sectional view of a typical anatropous ovule. Second part of the same question is, list the components of the embryo sac and mention their fate on fertilization. Okay, so here the question is clear that you will draw the structure of a typical embryo sac, and you have to be explain what are the types of cells which are seen inside the embryo sac. Okay, so the components of the embryo sac means it having 2 polar nuclei, 1 egg cell, 2 synergids and 3 antipodal cells. Okay, so these are the parts of the embryo sac. Clear it is. So after pollen pistil interaction, the pollen tube develops and enters the ovule through the synergids guided by whom? Filiform apparatus. Okay. One of the male gamete fertilizes the female gamete to form the diploid zygote. The other male gamete, what will happening to the other male gamete? The other male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus, that means the polar nuclei, okay, to form a triploid primary endosperm nucleus, okay, PEN, that develops into endosperm. Clear it is. So it is very easy to score a 5 mark. So first of all you very clearly understand all the portions of the diagram and need a neat labeled diagram. Okay. Next question is, draw a schematic labeled diagram of a fertilized embryo sac of an angiosperm. Describe the stages in embryo development in the dicot plant. Same question. Next question, trace the events that would place in a flower from the time of pollen grain of the same species fall on the stigma up to the completion of fertilization. So here it is clear that trace the events. You have to be written down what will happening. Okay, so post fertilization period is asking here. The conditions that the time of pollen grain of the same species falls on the stigma. Okay, so the self pollination will take place. So you have to be written what are the changes occurs in the post fertilization period. Okay, I hope you can follow me. Next question is, draw a labeled diagram of a sectional view of a mature pollen grain in angiosperm. Explain the functions of its part. So here you have to draw the structure of the mature pollen grain. So mature pollen grain means it have 2 cells, vegetative cells and the generative cells. Okay, and it having covering axine and intine. So the pollen grains are generally spherical with a prominent 2-layered wall. The hard outer covering that is known as axine and is made up of sporopollenin, which is resistant organic material. Clear? Axine can withstand high temperature, strong acids and alkali, thus provide protection. It has a prominent aperture called germ pore through which the pollen tube comes out. Okay, vegetative cell has abundant food reserve. Generative cell divides mitotically, gives rise to 2 male gametes before pollen grains are 3-celled stage. Okay. Next question is, draw a labeled diagram of the LS of the embryo of grasses. That means embryo of the monocot. How does it differ from the bean? So in bean the plant that is dicot. Okay, so you have to draw the LS of the embryo of the grass. Coleoptile and coleorhiza portions will be seen in the structure of grass. Okay, so what is the difference between embryo of grass and embryo of bean? Embryo of a grass has a single cotyledon and embryo of a bean having 2 cotyledon. The plumule is protected by a foliaceous seed called coleoptile and radicle is protected by coleorhiza. These two are not present in the embryo of the bean. Okay, so Coleorhiza and Coleoptile are the features of the monocot plants. Clear. Next question. Rose plants produce large, attractive bisexual flowers, but they seldom produce fruit. On other, lady's finger produce plenty of fruits. Analyze the reason for failure of fruit formation in rose. The question is why the fruit formation is not occurred in the rose. Okay. Failure of fruit formation in rose may be due to the several reasons. The reasons are inability to produce viable pollens. Inability to produce viable pollens. The next case is absence of functional egg. Okay, being hybrids, the meiotic process may be abnormal, resulting in non-viable gametes. Then self-incompatibility. All these are the internal barriers for the pollen tube germination. All these are the results for the formation. The formation of the seed is not taking place in the case of rose. Clear it is. What are the reasons? Inability to produce viable pollens, absence of functional egg, presence of abortive nucleus, being hybrids, the meiotic process may be abnormal, resulting in a non-viable gametes. There may be self-incompatibility. There may be internal barriers for the pollen tube growth. Okay. Next question. With the labeled diagram depicts stages in the embryo development in dicotyledons plant. Endosperm development proceeds embryo development. Why? So diagram that you know. Then next statement is endosperm development proceeds embryo development. Endosperm is filled with reserve food materials which are used for the nutrition of the developing embryo. Next question. Seeds offer several advantages to angiosperm. Describe any three such advantages. Okay. I think when I give this question to your exam portion, weekly exam portion, all you answered. That means all you know the correct answer. What are the advantages of the seeds? Okay. Seeds help in the sexual reproduction. It produces genetic recombination. It provides sufficient food for the seedling. And basic agriculture. For basis of agriculture, storage of seed can occur due to the seed habit dehydration. Then the better adaptive strategies for the dispersal of seeds to new habitat. All these are the features of the seeds. Clear it is. So after this class you must write down notes. Okay, now the questions with answers. In your own words you write down the answers. Okay. The next question is, we are discussing the next question. Draw a label diagram of a anther lobe at microscope mother cell stage. Mention the role of different wall layers of anther that we discussed. Next question. Draw the diagram of an enlarged view of TS of microsporangium of an angiosperm and label the following parts. So here you have to label the parts like tapetum, endothecium, middle layer and the microspore mother cell. Second part of the same question is, mention the characteristic features of the tapetum. What is the characteristic features of the tapetum? Tapetum is the innermost wall layer of the microsporangium. It nourishes the developing pollen grains. Okay. Then the cells of the tapetum possess dense cytoplasm and generally have more than one nucleus. Clear it is. Then next question is same question, third part question. Explain the following process and giving a reason. Pollen grains are well preserved as fossils. Why pollen grains are preserved as fossils? Because the pollen grains contain a sporopollenin portion. This sporopollenin can withstand high temperatures, strong acids, alkalis, etc. Clear it is. Next question is to describe the sequence of events that led to the development of a three-celled pollen grain from the microspore mother cell in a angiosperm. Describe the sequence of events that led to the development of a three-celled stage. Normally, two-cell stages forming vegetative cell and the generative cell. At the time of maturation, the generative cell again forms a three-celled stage. Clear? Next question is, draw a diagrammatic sectional view of a mature anatropous ovule. So most of the angiosperms ovules having anatropous ovule. Anatropous. So different types of ovules are there. Most of the angiosperms plant having anatropous ovule. Clear it is. Next question. The same question having the second part, that is describe the characteristic features of the windy pollinator flowers. Okay, so windy pollinator means the pollen grains are light in weight, because if they are in heavy weight, the wind can't be transmit. Okay, so pollen grains are light in weight, non-sticky, dry and winged. Well exposed stamens for easy dispersal of pollen grains in the wind. The stigma is sticky, large, feathery to trap the pollen grains floating in the air. Then the numerous flowers are packed together to form inflorescence. So these are the features of the windy pollinated flowers. What are the features of the windy pollinated flowers? First one is the pollen grains are light in weight, non-sticky, light in weight, non-sticky, dry and winged. Well exposed stamens for easy dispersal of pollen grains in the wind. Then the stigma is sticky, large and feathery to trap the pollen grains floating in the air. Then the numerous flowers are packed together to form inflorescence. Clear it us. Okay, the next question is, coconut palm is monoecious while date palm is dioecious. Why are they so called? Coconut palm monoecious means both kinds of sexes are seen on the same plant. That's why it is known as monoecious. But in a date palm, the male and female are seen in the different plants. That's why it is known as dioecious. Next question is, explain the events after pollination leading to the formation of a seed in angiosperm. Mention the ploidy levels of the cells of different part of the albuminous seed. Okay, so after pollination, that features that you know, the ploidy, that is diploid. Embryo is a diploid one and the endosperm is the triploid. Endosperm is a triploid. Triploid means 3N condition and embryo is diploid. Diploid means 2N condition. Clear it is. Next question, explain the phenomenon of double fertilization. Draw a label diagram of a typical anatropous ovule. Double fertilization means what? Syngamy, where one male gamete fuses with the egg cell to form a zygote. In the triple fusion, which includes the fusion of the second gamete with the two polar nuclei. Okay. The next question is, draw a diagram of the mature embryo sac of an angiosperm and label the following parts. The parts: filiform apparatus, synergid, central cell, egg cell, polar nuclei, antipodals. Next question is, draw a LS of pistil flower showing a pollen tube entering the embryo sac in an angiosperm and label any 6 parts other than stigma, style, ovary. So other than, you have to label 6 parts. Clear? Next question is, trace the development of megaspore mother cell up the formation of a mature embryo sac in the flowering plants. That you know. I hope all you can understand what I am saying. All these questions are the previous year board questions. Okay, so I didn't skip any portions. I hope all you will understand the chapter sexual reproduction very clearly, because it is that reproduction chapters, 4 reproduction chapters will be there. First chapter, reproduction in organism, is a deleted portion. Now the revised CBSE portion that we will get. So on that, the first chapter, the reproduction in organism is a deleted one. So that is only a introduction chapter, I think. Okay, so the next 3 chapters is very important. So the remaining marks, out of the 70 marks, the reproduction chapter and genetics chapters are mark scoring chapters. So please be study very well. Next question is, explain the different ways of apomictic seeds can develop. Explain, give an example of each. Well, what do you mean by apomictic seed? Apomictic seed means diploid egg cell is formed without reduction division. Reduction division means meiosis and develops into embryo without fertilization. Okay, in case of grasses, it will be takes place. Clear? Then what are the features? What are the how it is helping for the farmers? No segregation of characters in hybrid seed, so economically beneficial and desired varieties are cultivated. No segregation of character in the hybrid seeds. No segregation, that's very important. No segregation of character in the hybrid seeds. Clear it us. The next question is, explain the post-pollination events leading to the seed production in angiosperm. Next question, explain the events up to fertilization that occur in the flower that the pollen grain has landed on its compatible stigma. What will happen if the pollen grains are landed on the stigma? That means post-fertilization events. Then fertilization and post-fertilization events you have to be write down. Okay, so you have to be write down, depends upon the marks. It's a 5-mark question, so you have to write fertilization and the post-fertilization events.